converted man here. So, new argument for theism. By new we mean old, and by old we mean broken. So there's this quote-unquote new argument published by a couple of doctors. Don't know what their doctorate's in, haven't looked it up. Probably doesn't matter. Philosophy or something. Anyway, so they've made this argument. And this argument it's long, So it's the psychological harmony, a new argument for theism. Now, to get there, basically we're going to have to argue that a soul exists or that a spirit exists, and then that then therefore means God exists, I guess. I don't know. Develops a new argument from consciousness to theism. The argument from psychological harmony. Wow. What the hell does that mean, right? Psychological harmony consists in the fact that phenomenal states are correlated with physical states with one another in strikingly fortunate ways. For example, phenomenal states are correlated with behavior and functioning that is justified or rationalized by those very fundamental states. Example, pain is correlated with avoidance behavior. Well, duh. Like, hey, I realized something. Hey, guys, check it out. I finally got my doctorate. It took me years, but have you ever noticed that if you hit your thumb with a hammer, it really hurts, and you want to avoid that. Yeah, I've noticed that. You know what that means? It means God exists. Dude, let's write a paper. So yeah, blah blah blah, goes on. I'm skipping all this. Basically, it's just explaining their confusion about psychological laws and what is consciousness? What is red? What does it mean to have an experience? What consciousness? What is that anyways? And let's talk about the psychological harmony, which you can't explain under naturalistic atheism. But on theism, well, of course you can explain it because there's a God and that makes sense of everything because magic. So, psychological laws, of course, are just, what is that? What's a psychological law? That's a good question. Psychological laws attempt to relate the amplitude of physical stimulus to its perceived magnitude, such as loudness as a function of sound, pressure, or brightness as a function of luminance. There you go. That's what that is, right? Okay. So we're going to get confused about what all that means, because the only way to forward a God is to wedge some gaps in knowledge and say that that's where God lives. They go over some examples that are boring, so I'm skipping it. I've read a lot of this already. Actually, I read all the way to page that I was on. I believe it was 17. Oh, of course, this relies on to some part on dualism, so you can pretty much toss it out the window right there if you wanted to. So they also talk about, and this is I'd say this is where they show their hand, the language here. The apparent luckiness of harmony between the psychological laws and the way that we behave is apparently lucky. Oh, okay. So if it's lucky, see, we can't be luck. Can't be luck. Where have we heard that before? Oh, it can't just be by chance that all these things happen to work together, as if our brains haven't evolved throughout time in a slow, gradual process to get where they have, and goodness knows how many psychological issues we had along the way. And it's still not functional 100%, But it's really lucky that things work together at all. That's weird that happens. It must be God. So for example, when we have an experience of a red and round thing, many of us are inclined to judge or report our experience essentially involves an equatus relation with redness and roundness. The fuck, whatever. When we have a reddish experience, this is what this is where I just kind of switch off from typical philosophy and just go, look, nobody talks this way. When I look at red, I'm like, I'm having a red experience. No, it's freaking red, man. An orangish experience and a greenish. Whatever. We are supposed to judge the first experience as more similar to the second than to the third. Not really. I mean, I don't think of it that way, but I whatever. So our brain disposes us to make certain judgments based on the nature of phenomenal states. No kidding. Duh. And so they basically, I'm trying to get to those. So they do a couple of examples with text machines and trying to just muddy the waters more. Okay, so here's where it gets good. Okay, let me read your thing. Nidimos. I think I said his name right. Probably not. I asked Crumut point blank on how you can even test this, i.e., how could you ever reproduce the conditions to replicate a psychological harmonious decision? The silence was golden. Of course. How you can't test any of this. None of this is testable. None of this is coherent. None of this is word salad made to look sophisticated using technical terms, psychological-ish terms, philosophical terms, and I dare say nitty. Okay. Pseudoscientific terms, well, they didn't do that, but they might have well. So anyway, so from harmony to theism, because it's just unlikely that things align so well that when pain is a thing that you would want to avoid that pain. Yeah, because okay, here's the thing. So simple to clarify this. So you step on a nail, right? And you go, okay, well, some dude somewhere, this is like how, I guess, like the simplest way to think of this, right? It's not how it happened, but we'll just make it dumbed down for these apologists, right? Okay, some guy steps on a nail, right? And he doesn't notice it, because, it is the first time that a human ever stepped on something like that. Also, somebody invented a nail before. It doesn't matter. It's like, it's a nail type of object. It's sharp. He sharps on something sharp, right? And he's bleeding, And he's like, that little creature over there is following my blood. I better run away from it. Run away! So he runs away. And he's like, okay, so, bleeding make creature, like, come after me. So I'll just, like, we'll make it stop bleeding, right? And then later on, he's like, wait a minute. The people that run away from the creature that's chasing them more often begin to associate blood with creatures. So then it's made the other way around. See, that it's made, the pain becomes real because your brain made up the pain to explain the blood, so that then you could run away from the creature. And that's only understandable if God, of course, that's completely backwards, because the pain comes first. Then the realization that it's pain comes when you have a consciousness able to do so. Even insects have, like, pain-ish receptors. Even some plants have receptors that you could categorize to an extent as pain receptors, because they avoid certain things to some extent. So avoidance is a strategy in nature. And saying, hey, I am in pain, I need to do something about it, is a key strategy in surviving long enough to reproduce. But these guys, I mean, who cares? So the psychological laws ensure that the phenomenal states pattern with each other and with other physical states in harmonious ways. And I love this too, because what about all the inharmonious ways that people experience that have, psychological disorder? Well, we're not going to talk about that. Doesn't matter. Anyways, ways that seem extremely lucky. So there's that word again, lucky. We've seen that before. I just wonder how many, 5 different times at least that they use the word lucky in this paper. Brilliant. The overwhelming majority of sets conceivable psychological laws would have produced disharmony, as would have the absence of consciousness altogether. How do you know that? Like, what sense is that? What do you mean? What does that even mean? Look, things evolve, okay? Like, all species are always, everything is evolving that's alive. And, so in order to make that keep going, and I guess you go way back when you say, okay, the first cell thing that wasn't even a cell, the first whatever it was, it didn't care about living. Like, it didn't know any different. It just ate, and that was that. And it died out, and that was the end of its story. And another thing came along and had this weird mutation where once it ate, it was like, I'm done eating, but I need to do some activity to stay alive or whatever. Like, it had this mutation of wanting to live mutation, and that one lived longer, right? And that's how that came to be a thing. That's not it, but I'm just saying, like, dumbing it down for these idiots. Okay, whatever. Where am I? It seems that the simplest and hence intrinsically probable psychological correlation patterns would be disharmonious. Based on what? For example, no, okay, this will be good. So this is an appeal. Is this going to be an appeal to analogy? We'll see. The psychological laws would be simpler if they mapped all physical states onto the same experience buzzing noise. So see, they're taking what the psychological law actually is, which is, again, to remind us, physiological laws, I'm probably saying it wrong every time, I don't care anymore, attempt to relate the amplitude of physical stimulus to the perceived magnitude. So loudness is sound pressure, brightness is luminance. Okay, so pain correlates to something happening. Okay. Let's see. I wonder what Dr. Dusty would think of modern COVID studies on cognition, and would he conclude that humans aren't special? Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing, is like, this is focused, I guess, on humans, right? Like, this would also have to apply to animals and perhaps insects. I don't know about plants. I don't know if you could study plants psychologically, but maybe, but the whole point of this endeavor is to try to prove a soul, basically. And there's no way they can do it. There is no way to do that. But that's what I'm guessing that they're going towards in this. And then once you have a soul, you have to have a soul maker, right? Anyways, it's striking that the laws, unlike other fundamental laws, appear to operate on relatively macroscopic physical states, such as neural firing patterns or high-level information structure in the brain. That's what they are. It's physical stimulus. So what? Every time they say this, they're not even talking about the thing that it actually is. Oh well. Anyways, Uh, the dualist ultimate loss. So there you go. So if you're not a dualist, which I'm not, I'm completely against dualism. You don't even need to bother with this quote unquote new argument because it's just dualism. That's all. You just say, look, oh, it's dualism. I'm good. I don't need this. Don't need it. Don't care until you prove dualism. We're done, and that's really where we should be already. We don't need. How many pages is this thing got? We don't need however many pages this thing is to go over it. We know you're done. You don't have an argument. Because at no point during this paper do they prove dualism. And you can't use dualism ideas until you prove it, right? So, whatever. But why that seems weird to him, who knows? On ordinary naturalistic atheism, the fuck is that even mean? What? Yeah, how would non-Pacific buzzing only be better than localized pain for survival? Yeah, exactly. And also this kind of does seem to ignore. Also, wouldn't you know? Sometimes people have pain or other sensations that they can't tell you where the hell it is. So that seems that would negate this whole idea too, wouldn't it? Like, where do you hurt? Like, I don't know. It's just I'm hurting. Like, I don't even know where I'm hurting. It just hurts inside of me somewhere. Like something hurts. I don't know. It's just bad. Yeah, actually, that's a story. Why not? Sure, they are using analogies. I'll use one. Okay, so I was driving home from an hour long drive that I had, and all of a sudden the back of my head started hurting like like this point on my head, and it felt like there was an ice pick being driven from the inside out of my head, like my brain was trying to escape, or something. And there was a guy in there with a ice pick pounding away or something, and I knew that that's not a thing. And I'm like, wow! Every time it happened, it was like I'm trying to drive here, and I was like, extreme pain, and then it would go away, and I'm like, okay, it's good, it's good, and I'm like, okay, just know that it's coming any moment now. I'm ready for it. Every time it would catch me. Okay, so I went to the ER. I was like, screw this. I don't know what the hell this is. Go into the ER. They scanned me. We don't know what the hell that is. And that didn't show anything. It showed your brain, but didn't show us anything that's wrong. And so they gave me a shot of steroid and some other drug. I forget what the other drug was, but basically it reduces inflammation is what steroids does. And like a few minutes later, bing, gone. And they're like, yeah, we want you to follow up with the bigger thing that scans you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that because it's done now. The pain's gone. Like, what caused it? They don't know. They literally don't know. They're like, we don't know what caused it. We don't know what's happening. We scanned you. We have no idea. But the drug you gave me, it worked. So it's gone, and that's it. And I'm good. So I'm happy now. I don't need, maybe I should go follow up, but I'm good to go. So, unless it comes back, then I'll go back, but it could be a number of things. So they want to eliminate a lot of possible things that it could be, right? That's why they want you to do the other type of scan, because this was like a donut scan, and then there's like the MRI, and this is like a CAT scan or whatever the scans are. I don't know. Anyways, so why did that happen? Don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I could have done to stop that pain from happening. Nothing seemed to cause it that I'm aware of. Was it just like a migraine or a headache in that one region? I have no idea. Who knows? And they don't know. The doctors didn't know. But the medication, because it relieves inflammation, it made it go down and it went away. So what possible spiritual significance would that have in this theistic, God-ordained worldview? Why would it be important for a piece of my head to suddenly start start hurting only to stop after I got medication for it. Because that proves a soul somehow. And to Snuffy's point, why wouldn't it be if it's God that's making us have pain in the first place, or anything else for that matter? Why not just tell us what it is, where it is, and what to do about it? That seems better to me. If we're gonna make it unlikely by nature to do things, let's make it really unlikely by nature to do things. That, hey, nitwit, you have just stepped on something sharp. You now have to deal with that. Okay, there it is. Got it. Took it. Done. Please put a bandage on it. Okay, done. Or you're like, attention, your brain is extremely hot right now, and you need to cool it down by 5 degrees. We suggest dunking your head in some water. And you're like, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, great. So it just tell you exactly what you needed to do. You would hear it out loud, or you would see words on a or it would come up as a message for you to read, or just you would just know, this, look, that food you're about to eat, don't eat that, because it's actually going to give you a stomach flu. Oh, okay, thank you, soul. You helped me to avoid that. So it'd be completely obvious at that point that we had something more than nature going. But God's got to really hide it. Anyways, so on ordinary naturalistic atheism, whatever the hell that is, it's very hard to see what could explain psychophysical I keep saying psychological. That's the wrong one. Psychophysical harmony. So we can't explain it. Therefore, it's this other thing. What's that called? It's called an appeal to personal incredulity, or it's an appeal to ignorance. Can't explain it. Must be theism. Must be God. It's easy to explain it. Okay, so it's hard over here. We don't like things that are hard. Over here, it's easy. Hard, easy. Hard, easy. But reality is hard to explain, you nitwits. That's the thing. The way that reality actually is freaking hard to explain. But you guys, you're like, oh, God did it all, spirit, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how does any of that work? Like, that would still be complicated as hell to explain how a soul works. How the hell it works, because it's not made of anything. There's no location for it, but it's bound to your body for reasons, It's incoherent. So to the synthesia suffer, it is harmonious because they can't experience another other way. Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that. Like the whole synthesia person. Like, do they have multiple souls or whatever? Like experiencing like the one that's supposed to smell is actually seen. Like their soul got mixed up or something. Hope all is good. Well, I'm making fun of this thing, so it is good. This is a new argument. This is not a new argument. This is an old argument. It's an old argument been repackaged into new by using clever terminology. It's I don't understand consciousness, therefore God. That's all this is. That's all it is. Okay. Psychophysical harmony is viable inasmuch as it allows there to be beings who not only have phenomenal states, but have phenomenal states which can play normatively appropriate roles, who possess meaningful agency, who can respond rationally to sensory evidence, who can behave rationally on the basis of their desires, and could have reasonably relatable intuitions about their phenomenal states. Pardon. Except we're going to ignore, and again, because we have to ignore all the times that that's not true. All the people who don't perceive reality the way that the bell curve normal people do, the ones that are hallucinogenic, the ones that are now I saw people waiting to go into for the 3632, the mental patients waiting to be transferred or whatever it is. And this one gal was just saying things that made no damn sense. And it was like, well, what's wrong with her? Well, what was wrong with her is that she was extraordinarily drunk, to the point where she didn't even seem like she was drunk. She seemed like she was high. But she was so disconnected from reality, but she had some connections to reality still. She kept saying, something to do with the military, like I'm this ranger, whatever. Maybe that was a desire of hers. Maybe it was actual. I don't know. But everything she said was completely disconnected with reality. But from her point of view, what would that be like if you were her and you were saying these things? From your point of view, it might seem perfectly normal to say what she was saying. And it's hard to put yourself in that person's shoes. It's like, well, what is it like to be that drunk? I don't know, because I've never been drunk in the first place, so I have no idea. Or what is it like to be high? And she might have also been high as well, but regardless, she was disconnected from reality as perceived by myself and others, and that's why she was in the waiting for some sort of mental diagnosis. Although with her, it was more physical than mental, but they couldn't figure out what was going on precisely. And once somebody she knew came in, like, that relaxed her a lot and let her calm down. So is that her soul responding to another soul that it's familiar with? Like needy. Now I even can't say his fake name right. Nadimos said, like, how could you test any of this, right? This is just not. It's not okay. Just keep going. So yeah, all the people that are normal, ignore all the people that aren't normal. That's the whole point of that. Okay. Given the value of psychophysical harmony, it's not terribly unlikely that God would create. Wait, where did? So, what? Like, so okay. So, is this like the first time God was mentioned? No, it's been mentioned a few times. But I it's been mentioned. Well, it's been mentioned a lot in their citations, so that's interesting. But I'm just wondering, where else they mentioned God if this was the first mention. Wasn't. Yeah. So basically, they're going on the whole, consciousness is weird, so that proves God sort of thing. Oh my God, they really go off on deep ends. I see that later in the paper. They go off on way deep ends. Where was I? 17 somewhere. All right. Anyways, got distracted because this paper is so stupidly convoluted is the word. So now there's no syllogism in this. Of course not, because, that would make it easier to read. But so this argument, I would suspect that if and when somebody makes a syllogistic format of this, it'll be something like, can't understand how this, or like, the only way the physiological laws can be harmonious if theism is true. They are harmonious, so it must be true, or something really stupid like that. It's going to be really low degree thing. Where the hell was I? I fucked it up. But anyways, you get the point. Like, I don't need to go through this whole thing. Do it. Oh, here we go. Okay, there it is. Never mind. See. Um, let's see. There it is. It's not terribly unlikely. Now, how would you know what's likely or unlikely in this case? Who knows? That God would create a world where those laws are fine-tuned. Oh my God. For psychophysical harmony, except for the fact that the laws aren't fine-tuned because that's not what the laws are, and they aren't fine-tuned because not everybody has these things active in the way that they would need to. Um, let's see. You can't wave away the fine-tuning problem. No, I think I can because I don't think I don't think it's a problem. That's first of all, but they're saying finely tuned in reference to the psychophysical laws, which is precisely asked backwards because those laws describe, what was the definition again? It's the attempt to relate the amplitude of physical stimulus to its perceived magnitude, such as loudness as a function of sound pressure or brightness as a function of luminance. So that's it. It's a different way to explain how we, like, hey, I'm seeing light. So that is luminescence. There is actually light there that is there for real, and also I'm experiencing it. And all the laws are doing is trying to codify that. So to say that they're fine-tuned is to completely ignore what they're really actually doing, but that's fine. Oh, okay. So anyways, so what sort of an intelligent designer might explain? So this guy Pulitz's whatever even rhetorically asks, well, if it's rhetorical, then why quote him? Well, because he needs somebody to quote, I guess. What sort of an intelligent designer might explain why the psychological laws are actually fine-tuned to result in normative harmony? Who the fuck? And then there's other authors also raised the possibility of theistic explanation, but he was rhetorically doing it, so even you know that of the harmony. Okay, so but then they quickly dismiss it. So let's formulate the argument more precisely in Bayesian terms. Oh no, 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 no. We're not going to do that. No, no. I refuse. No. No, that's formal logic. No, no, I don't want to. Oh God, it gets worse from there. Okay, it gets worse from there. Short version of this: when and if you see it crop up, and goodness knows you might, is requires dualism to be a thing, has wildly speculative ideas about consciousness. It's a God of the gaps argument. It's an appeal to ignorance and personal incredulity. It's an appeal to probability and it's also appealed to some emotion there because it's hard to explain it on atheism, but easy to explain it on theism. It's a lucky we have it sort of thing. So it's a look at how amazingly lucky it is, therefore God. That's basically the sum total of this new argument, which isn't new. Basically, it's a retread of what we've heard a bazillion times before. So, nothing new under the sun, I guess. I would love an actually new argument for God, but this isn't it. I guess they've run out of ideas. Maybe Anyways, Yeah, the whole fine tuning thing is, yeah, it's, I think it's looking at things backwards. Um, when they've didn't care, yeah. Yeah, when they vote, I care what other believes. Yeah, that's kind of so. The reason, well, I mean, I saw this video. The new argument for God is insanely strong. It's not strong. There's nothing strong about it. Um, Nor is there anything new precisely about it. Um, it's just a couple of doctors don't even know what they're doctors of, and they're just repeating. You know, we don't understand, therefore God. That's it. That's it. That's all they're doing. Um, to do a proper actual analysis of a long ass paper like this would just take me way too long. And a lot of it taps into areas that I don't have any knowledge in, so I would need like a psychologist, a psychiatrist, probably somebody that's a biologist, an evolutionist person that understands biological evolution, whatever, because they're tapping into all these areas and they're muddying the water so much when they're doing that. And they're doing that deliberately. It's very much deliberate. I think that they picked psychology because it's a weaker science that you can poke some holes in. But basically, it's like we don't understand consciousness, therefore God. That's all. That's it. That's all it boils down to. Did they prove God? Nope. Not even a little. Did they define God? Nah. Nah, God's just assumed. Which God? Yeah. Well, that's not important as long as you believe in God. Any rate, that's all I got. I don't know if this was interesting or not. Hopefully, it might have been a little bit interesting. If you have your thoughts on that paper or questions to ask, let me know in the comments, and that'll be a thing. Yeah, we're done here. Wait. I'm gonna make sure if we're done here because I was like looking for a video I could do a video about. I found this one, and let's see, new scientific evidence that points to the existence of God. Oh God, no, it's not. I guarantee it's not. Um, just kind of curious. Nope. Just wondering if they got the thing about the wrong. Yeah, I mean it's the column. Okay, so yeah, we're done here. All right, bye everybody. Wee! I can't do any more videos. Wee! The harmoniousness of me has been shattered. Yay!